This is Omead Sedghian and welcome to my video presentation of our flight scenario from Kilo Golf Sierra Oscar to Kilo Lima Yankee Hotel, or Piedmont Regional to Lynchburg. So for this trip, you're picking up an aircraft for the flight school, which is located at Lynchburg, and the aircraft is being fixed at Piedmont, and the owner of the flight school would like us to go pick it up for him. We are getting dropped off at Piedmont by a flight instructor, and we'll be flying the aircraft back to our home airport, which just adds a new safety level to it. By the time you get to the airport, you've already flown that route with an instructor. If there's any obstructions or anything that needs to be talked about, should be covered by then. We are departing Lynchburg at 1400 Zulu, or 9 a.m. Eastern Time. So we'll be flying from Lynchburg to Piedmont, and from Piedmont back to Lynchburg. The total mileage for each way is 82 nautical miles, and the flight is going to take, give and take, 1 hour and some change. There is no restricted airspace in our way. It seems like a very straightforward route. We have a MSA of 2,500. That is the highest MSA throughout the route. It even can be as low as 1,800. And it's also a beautiful thing that we have Victor 143 going direct from Piedmont to Lynchburg. So we have options of using GPS as well as VOR navigation in case our GPS is not functional. Now we are going to run through the PAVE checklist. The PAVE checklist starts with the pilot. Our pilot is a commercial pilot, which means he has at least 190 hours, depending on which programs he went through. And the pilot is also training to be a CFI. And we don't have enough information to run through the I'm Safe checklist, but I would have that checklist included in the P section, as it's a way of evaluating the readiness of the pilot for the flight. However, we are going to assume that the pilot is fit to fly, and he's in a good state of mind and excited to complete this flight. However, 200 or even a commercial student is considered to be low flight hour pilot. Low hour pilots are in an increased danger because of low experience. So we must be very mindful of that. I would suggest for the pilot to have their personal minimums written down in this case, and have them in his pocket and stick to them. So the next section is going to be the A of the PAVE checklist, or the aircraft. In this scenario, the aircraft is the most important variable, I would say. It is a Piper P-28, which our pilot seems to be familiar with since he goes to the same flight school. However, there was just an overhaul completed. Maintenance causes maintenance. That is a saying that every pilot knows, and if you're a maintenance person, you definitely have heard of that. And also, we've had new avionics installed, and the layout has been completely changed. So this is going to add a layer of complication to this flight, as the pilot has to get used to the new layout. He needs to make sure that he's not carrying any bad habits into this new cockpit, as the risk can be multiplied. And we also have to make sure that the engine is actually properly installed and is ready to be flown for 82 nautical miles. The next section of the PAVE checklist is the E, or the environment. So as we mentioned, we are departing Lynchburg at 1400 Zulu. We are arriving at Piedmont at 1500 Zulu, between 15 and 1600. This will give us an hour to pick the aircraft up, get some rest, and plan on departing at 1700 Zulu. So there is no forecast for departure. We just know that it's going to be VFR conditions. We are flying with an instructor as well. And upon picking up the aircraft, we have to make sure that we run our post-maintenance flights. Make sure that the aircraft is fit to fly, all the maintenance is done correctly. For that, I recommend at least half an hour of a closed circuit flight around the airport within glide distance. This is to ensure that if the engine gives out, we can land the aircraft safely and take it back to the hangar for maintenance. And also, we're going to have an hour flight coming back to Lynchburg from Piedmont. So the TAFs for Lynchburg between 17 and 2300 are winds from 210 at 8, visibility plus 6 statute miles, and skies clear. The winds seem to be not much of a factor. 8 knots is not something that a P-28 cannot handle. Visibility is plus 6 statute miles. That is not a lot of visibility, but it's still VFR. And according to the TAFs, the winds are going to be calming down as the day progresses. So we don't have worsening weather condition. However, it is not the best. So the next part of our checklist is external pressure. So our pilot is hoping to get hired by the flight school as a CFI. In order to showcase your skills, you have to show proper ADM, which is aeronautical decision making, and piloting skills. ADM is very important for flight school owners as they're putting the life of the student in your hands as a CFI. So you must show that you're very thorough with your decision making. And the pilot has to also be mindful of his or her emotions, and make sure they're not flying just because they want to get back home that night. Staying at the FBO or a hotel room is not the worst thing in the world. Pilots do it all the time. So yes, our pilot needs to remember that showing your skills as a CFI includes ADM, as well as being able to fly the aircraft back safely. I want to say that is the easy part, actually. And our pilot also has to make sure that they do not make a go decision until after they've done the post-maintenance flight around the airport. If everything checks out after the first flight, then they can return to the airport, or even in there decide whether or not they want to continue this flight or not. But I would not make a final decision until after that post-maintenance flight is completed. Well, thank you for listening to my presentation.